Good evening and welcome to the Meet the Candidate Night for candidates running for Brownsburg School Corporation School Board. Tonight's forum is sponsored by the PSG Presidents Group, and questions were submitted by PSG presidents and the PSG members. We'd like to thank all of the candidates for participating tonight. This truly is intended to be a forum and a chance for voters to know you better, and this is not a debate. Please keep that in mind. We will begin with each candidate having 30 seconds for an introduction. You will have 2 minutes to answer your questions, and we will go in a rotating order to give each candidate an equal opportunity. At the end of the questioning, each candidate will have 2 minutes to share any final thoughts. We would like to remind the viewers that early voting is now open. To begin this forum, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. For those 30-second introductions, we'll start right here with Eric.
Thank you. My name is Eric Hylton. I'm the current president of the Brownsburg School Board. I grew up in Brownsburg. I've lived here my whole life. I'm a 1989 graduate of Brownsburg High School. After high school, I attended Indiana University, where I went to the Kelley School of Business and then went to IU School of Law in Indianapolis. I'm a partner at the law firm of Riley Bennett Egloff in Indianapolis, where I practice education law. My wife Mercy here is with me tonight. We have 3 children who are Brownsburg Community School Corporation students currently, and I want to thank the PSG for having us tonight and look forward to answering your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Becky?
Hi, my name is Becky Secord, and I'm running for the Brown Township position. I'm so nervous.
It's okay. Just take a breath.
I'm here with my husband, Ryan. We have 2 children, Chase, who is 7 and attends Eagle Elementary, and Theodore, who is 3. I just want to say thank you for hosting this, and watch out because I'm a little nervous.
Thank you. All right. First question, Eric, you will go first with the answer, okay?
All right.
School boards function as a unit to make decisions for the district. What skills or traits will allow you to contribute to effective operations of the board as a whole? How would you handle conflict both within the board itself as well as within the school community to help the board reach decisions in the best interest of students?
Well, I agree that school boards do function as a unit to make decisions, and we can only make decisions as a unit. We can, as an individual board member, we cannot go and make our own decisions. My fellow board members chose me as the school board president. I think that was them giving respect to me and their faith in me to be able to handle those types of things. The key is to be able to communicate with all board members. We have some very distinct personalities on our board. It's very important that we hear all sides of the board members and their opinions. We don't always agree. There's many times that we get in some heated discussions about things, but at the end of the day, what we have to do is try to come together and come to a consensus as to what's best for Brownsburg schools. On the issues with the community, community members are important on making public comments and adding input. I think you take those comments and you apply them to the best interest of students, and you also have to ultimately determine legal requirements that are in the situation and then make a decision considering all those things, and always keep in mind to do what's best for our students.
Thank you. Becky, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, thank you.
Okay.
As someone with over 15 years in the banking industry, I understand how to run a budget, a fiscally conservative budget, although it's on a much smaller scheme. I understand that boards don't have to be unified. We are all individuals. We all come from different backgrounds, different opinions, and different viewpoints. We should not be felt pressured to conform. Of course, we don't always have to get to agree, but we all have to have a willingness to want to collaborate and come together to provide the most equitable solutions for our students.
Thank you. Question 2. How have you prepared yourself for the specific role of a Brownsburg School Board member? For example, have you regularly attended or followed board meetings in the past? Have you had conversations with other board members, various staff members, attended the vision class, things like that? Becky?
I have been preparing since I've started my campaign by meeting with concerned parents and teachers and discussing their concerns about the political messaging they have seen within our schools. I was just told a story recently by a teacher, how she received an email that is allowing our teachers to wear left-leaning t-shirts and giving them permission to wear blue jeans if they do so. I do not feel that political messaging should be incentivized by our teachers. Why is this happening in our schools? Just last month, I attended a board meeting, and our own union president here for Brownsburg decided to mock me and my family. Another concerned parent spoke up at the same board meeting to express concerns regarding political messaging going on within our schools, and was also publicly humiliated and ridiculed by the same union president for expressing concerns that her family felt that the law enforcement families were receiving. As a board member, I want to create an environment that is welcoming for all. I want to create an environment where people, parents, students, and teachers can speak up without being ridiculed and humiliated publicly.
Thank you. Eric?
I think actually my senior year in high school, I was actually a class officer here at Brownsburg High School, much smaller Brownsburg High School at that point. And I was actually the school board liaison for the student. I don't even know, my wife knows that. But I was the student liaison. I went to all the school board meetings. That kind of got me interested. I went to IU undergrad and law school. When I came out, I started practicing education law. I've lived here in Brownsburg for 50 years. I thought to myself, what is something that I could do for the Brownsburg community? For the last 23 years practicing education law, I've pretty much been involved in every change in the law, everything done by the Department of Education. Some way or another, I've had my hands in on that process. So I thought it gave me a good base in which I can come and help out with Brownsburg Community Schools. And I think it has been a big help over the last 4 years by having my relationships with the Department of Education, with the governor's office, with the legislature, and all those other entities that have allowed Brownsburg schools. We can get things done quickly. We can get our questions answered. And I think just the expertise that I have in doing the education law and my background, and I think it's critical to have lived in Brownsburg for more than a short time. I've lived here 50 years. I know what this community is about. I know what the people are like. I know how this community has changed and how it's gotten more diverse. So I think all those things together, and obviously being on the board for the last 4 years has been helpful as well. But I think those things piled together kind of came to me wanting to be on the board and trying to help out our community.
Thank you. Question 3. How should the school board facilitate an environment that supports all students? Eric?
Yeah, I think our school corporation is around 15% African American. There are over 50 languages spoken in our school corporation, which I'm sure comes as a surprise about anybody that I tell that to. Also, we have, as Mr. Portman was saying, 25% of our students who receive free and reduced price meals. When the pandemic was going on, people didn't realize we were delivering 10,000 meals a week to students, because that's the level of hunger and poverty within our corporation and within our community. A lot of people don't think about that living in Brownsburg. People would call and say, hey, this packet of information is difficult. And I'm like, well, we're trying to work on getting these 10,000 meals to these families. So it was a situation that we have to take every child, no matter what their race, their background, their level of where they are in life, and make sure we provide the equal supports for each one of those. We have to be able to eliminate discrimination of any kind within the corporation, no matter what it is, no matter what it's based on. It has to be eliminated. We need to continue to listen to people, as like Mr. Portman said, and develop new policies and put them in place and make sure that no kids are subjected to discrimination and those types of things. I think it's important for our kids to learn how to respect each other. This year, as part of our corporation, the kids go through and they learn the traits of respect, responsibility, compassion, integrity, perseverance, acceptance, and citizenships. I hear some members of our community that want to get rid of those traits. They want to get rid of our kids learning those traits. And with the very diverse population that we have, in order to bring our kids together, and having lived here for so many years, I see by learning with my own children how much that brings those kids together. And for everybody to be treated equal, I think we need to teach them those traits and learn to respect each other and just care about each other as a people.
Thank you. Becky?
I think we all agree that everyone should be treated with respect and decency. I believe that we are able to create a welcoming environment for all by getting back to the basics. We need to keep our schools free of political affiliation and stay away from controversial topics that cause conflict. We need to teach critical thinking, effective communication, and how to effectively problem solve. I think we need to provide options outside of college for those going into the workforce, tech, or trade schools. We need to we need to foster a learning environment where all students feel welcome and comfortable.
Thank you. Moving on to question 4. Many people don't realize that 26% of Brownsburg students qualify for meal assistance. This percentage has steadily increased over the years. How should Brownsburg schools work to further meet the needs of families in need? What responsibilities, if any, should districts assume for dealing with such societal problems as poverty, hunger, emotional illness, or drug abuse? Becky, you're first.
The role of the school is to provide an environment to maximize learning. We all know that it's hard for children to learn when they're hungry. We have done a great job in the school district utilizing our state and federal funding to continue to help families that are in need. I believe teachers need to help provide safe environments for students to feel safe and comfortable to raise concerns and issues they're having at home. But what I think we really need to focus on is how to reduce the 26%. We need to prepare our graduates for life after high school, whether it be entering the workforce, trade school, tech school, or college, in order to reduce the socioeconomic gap for the future generations. Let's give our students skills to be successful to reduce this rate over time.
Thank you. Eric?
Thank you. Poverty is one of my passions in dealing with. When in my work in education law, I travel all around the state of Indiana, and I go to schools where they have 100% free and reduced lunch. Everybody just gets lunch for free, and you look at those kids, and they come to school hungry. They come to school, they haven't slept. They come to school not having very nice clothes. They may be homeless. They may have all those things. Until we can fix that issue and help those students, it makes it very difficult for them to have really even a big interest in learning, because if you're hungry, if you're tired, if you live in a difficult situation, you're not going to be there. So I think Brownsburg has done a good job of going in and providing supports, whether that be through guidance counselors, whether that be through our food pantries, whether we do additional academic support. But we have to absolutely make sure that those students have every academic opportunity as students that come from a little bit better means. And I think we've done a good job of that, putting additional resources towards those students to make sure that they can come out and have those additional opportunities. Our teachers do an amazing job of identifying those. One thing we heard about when we dealt with the free breakfast, which I had not heard before, was that now that it's all going to be free, there are many kids that come to school in the morning and who before this program are eligible for free breakfast, but don't get it because they're embarrassed for the other kids to see them get that free breakfast. And that breaks your heart to hear about that. So I think we need to have a school environment where all kids respect each other, no matter what socioeconomic area you come from or means that you have available, and just be able to be in a situation where you can support each other and make sure that all students are getting the same academic opportunities, the same high ability opportunities, the same extracurricular opportunities, no matter what their socioeconomic status is.
Thank you. Question 5. Brownsburg Schools continues to be a rapidly growing school district. What role does the school board play in keeping up with this growth? Thank you. Eric?
So we are a rapidly growing school district, and I think it's a good problem to have. Many school corporations would like to have that problem. I think we've been averaging about 250 students a year that we've been growing. This past year, I think we're up around 75 or 80 students, because I think of the COVID that some people have decided to keep their kids home. But as a school board, we're actually planning out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years in the future. I think somebody mentioned Crossroads Elementary. We're going to push that back a year because we're not going to quite have the student population. But one thing that we really focus on is that with our growing population, that one thing that we're going to guarantee to our community members and their kids is that we're still going to stay at levels where maybe in K through 2, you're going to have 22 kids and 1 teacher. If we get into 23 or 24, we're going to redo that and get them another teacher, because one of the biggest things to our success is keeping small class sizes and doing that work and providing the teachers the things that they need to do that. I think going forward, I think one thing nobody's mentioned is that I think I'm so proud of what we've been able to do as a board, that over the last 4 years, we've done over $100 million in construction projects, and we've actually lowered the tax rate for the Brownsburg community each year that we've been on the board. It's a commitment that we've taken as a board. It's a commitment that I take now, that we will continue to go on. We're doing a major transportation facility right now that we're building. Crossroads is not too far down in the future. We're getting ready to do a big expansion at West here in the next couple of years. As the schools continue to grow, we need to continue to provide great facilities and great opportunities to our kids. But it's also very critical that we also respect our wishes of our community, and the wishes of our community have been to try not to raise the school tax rate. A referendum got defeated several years ago before I was on the board. Since then, we've been able to do all these projects, the entire high school, the transportation facility, and we plan on Crossroads without increasing the tax rate for any citizens in Brownsburg, and that's our plan going forward. And we're looking at projects, making sure we're not going to touch that tax rate. And so I think that's an important part of a thing to look forward to respect our community's wishes.
Thank you. Becky?
I think it's important for the board to collaborate with town council. That's why I've been proactively building relationships with members of town government so that we can work together to effectively work on our schools and community issues. We need to review new neighborhoods and business development. We can proactively prepare for growth, update the budget accordingly, and minimize tax burden on our citizen by doing so.
Thank you. We have time for the 6th question, so we're going to go on with that. This will be the final question. Please describe your view of the roles of superintendent and school board, and what is the ideal relationship between these offices? Becky?
The ideal relationship of a school board and superintendent to me is cooperation and teamwork. But I think we need to clearly define the roles of the superintendent. The superintendent is a subordinate of the board. It is exclusively their job to execute the will of the board. The board is an elected body, and we are to represent the people who put us into office. I look forward to working with Dr. Snap if I'm elected and executing the will of our people.
Thank you. Eric?
The superintendent is basically the CEO of our corporation, of our school corporation. The board is kind of like the board of directors that give guidance to the superintendent. I think the one thing that's important is you have to hire a superintendent that you have trust in and that you believe in. You have to give them autonomy to run the school corporation. We have a kind of rule on our school board right now that we make a promise to each other that we're not going to surprise each other with anything. So if there's an issue that we know of and there's an issue that needs to be dealt with, we talk to Dr. Snap. If Dr. Snap knows of something, he'll tell it to the board members. So I think the board evaluates the superintendent, like Matt made the statement that we look at the finances, we create policies, and we hire and fire the superintendent. So we have to hire the superintendent that we have faith in, that we have trust in, to run this basically corporation that it is, a $100 million corporation, and give him the authority to make those decisions on an everyday basis. And then we just have to be the oversight on that. But again, I think it goes back to, we have a good relationship with our current superintendent and our board members. We don't always agree on everything, but it's a situation of we're not going to surprise each other. We all lay out what our positions are, and then we get to work and we figure out a solution. So we just have to put the superintendent in a position to run the day-to-day operations, and then we oversee the superintendent's job.
Thank you. Now we're to the point in the evening where you will each have up to 2 minutes to either give more of an introduction about yourself, touch on a topic that you would like to speak more about, or one that did not come up tonight. You have up to 2 minutes. Thank you. Becky?
I just want to say thank you as well for hosting this event tonight. If you would like to check out my platform, I have a social media page on Facebook. It's Becky Secord for School Board. I have 3 core components that I would like to focus on if I am elected, and that is curriculum. I think our teachers need to stick to the basics: reading, writing, arithmetic, math, science, and extracurriculars. I believe that it is the parents' responsibility to instill the morals, values, and religious beliefs that they deem necessary for their students. I also think we need to focus on the community. I want to encourage community involvement and plan to do so by using my social media platform to make them aware of issues that are going on within our schools and policies that we may be discussing. Last, I want to focus on our budget. I want to make sure I manage this in a very fiscally conservative manner to make sure we do not increase taxes for any of our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric?
Thank you. I think, listen to everybody have a chance to go first. I think there's been comments regarding curriculum, and I think there's been kind of comments made like during this campaign that the sky is kind of falling as far as Brownsburg Community Schools, but Brownsburg Community Schools is on a very solid basis. Like we said before, we've got the top scores in iStep and iLearn. We're all A-rated schools. We've got incredible students, parents, community, and teachers and other school employees. And I think we need to just kind of stick to what we're doing. And there's been talk about that there's going to be all these changes coming down the road, and there's not. We're sticking to the curriculum. The curriculum is developed by the Indiana Department of Education. We have to go by that curriculum. We can then use that curriculum and decide how we want to give that information to our students, but the curriculum is already pretty much set. I think from what this school corporation has been able to do in the last couple of years has been pretty amazing, especially with COVID in the last year. We were one of the first schools in the state of Indiana and in the country to go back into full in-person learning with an at-home option. We started off by having 13 or 14% of our kids at the at-home option. We're now down to about 10% of our kids are doing the at-home option. I think Dr. Snap and his administration has done a fantastic job of being transparent with the community about the number of COVID cases, about what's going on, and about the safe environment that we've created for our kids. I think that's caused more families to bring their kids back to in-person learning. I think it's one of those things that we're going to have to keep working at, but I think our teachers are just going way beyond the call of duty to what they're doing, and our cafeteria workers, our bus drivers, and everything else that's being asked of them this year. The three things that I would like to look at going in this year, I would like to get rid of, we're the top in the state, I'd like to get rid of all standardized testing. I think our teachers know what our kids need. They don't need the standardized test to try to tell them what our kids need. Another thing, I want to provide the best academic opportunities and facilities for our students while not raising the school tax rate. And finally, I'm committed to developing policies that foster a safe and discrimination-free environment for all Brownsburg students and employees. And I think with your help and your votes, we can continue the strong traditions of Brownsburg schools. Thank you, and thank you for having us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you all again for participating this evening. We would like to remind the voters that you will have an opportunity to vote for each one of these seats, so you do have those three positions to be learning about and making your choices. Early voting is open. And thank you so much. This concludes our evening.